Hello, what's happening everybody? How are you guys doing? Welcome back to Rule of Two Review, and today let's talk a little bit more E3. So it is another pretty busy day for me. It is Friday, just finished up at work a couple of hours ago, made it right to the gym after that, and I've got a couple of other things to do with my girlfriend a little bit later tonight, including playing some more Detroit Become Human, which we're having a blast playing. But for that reason, obviously on a busy day, it's hard for me to get in front of the camera for you guys, so no face cam vid today. It's just another gameplay video where, of course, you're watching some gameplay of the freaking incredible Bloodstained Curse of the Moon that I am playing on the Nintendo Switch, and I hope that a lot of you guys have picked this up and supported it because, man, it is amazing. And so with that out of the way, I did want to continue some more conversations about E3 because, of course, it is sneaking up upon us. Every single video I make, it's sneaking up that much closer. We are finally within the 2-week time frame before the show starts, and it is so crazy cool to have this coming up. What I wanted to do is discuss a little bit more of Nintendo's E3 because, of course, that's always the most fun for me to discuss, and I know you guys enjoy and prefer that, as we are mostly Nintendo fans here. And with Nintendo's E3, I wanted to kind of compare it to what happened last year in 2017, which was a very polarizing year and a lot of opinions on all sides of the fence. Traditionally, with most conferences from any company, I feel, people are on the same side. For the most part, people are going to feel, oh, Nintendo had a great year, Sony had a great year, Sony had a terrible year, Microsoft had a good year, whatever. And there's usually just a few outliers on the other side. Last year with Nintendo felt like one of those years where really it was almost split down the middle. I, of course, am someone who erred on the side of pretty much loving it. I thought they had a great show. I know there wasn't the most amount of surprises and, some of the big third-party games people thought that they were going to confirm. But I still think that they delivered a lot of games at a fast clip. They did have, obviously, 2 humongous surprises, and they even did give us some cool third-party games, like Rocket League, for example. And through that, as one of the people who really loved what they did last year, even though it was far from their best, I wanted to start to consider with the next E3 coming up in just a couple of weeks, and we know Nintendo Showcase is going to be happening on June 12th. I wanted to consider, will Nintendo have a better showing this year than they did last year? Now, this is tricky and definitely subjective, as most things are. Everyone is going to have a different opinion here. But for me, it's tricky because I do think that they had a very great show last year, but when it comes to having a good show this year, it also depends on really what other people thought when they compare it to their opinion of last year's show. So here's the thing. Could Nintendo have a better show than they did last year? In my opinion, just in Rob's opinion, guys, I'm not trying to speak for everyone, just for me. Could they have a better show this year than they did last year? Yes, they absolutely could. I can definitely envision several things that they could do at their presentation this year that could easily be better than what they did last year. However, I think the tricky thing is I don't expect them to do that. What I got out of last year's show was so incredibly mind-blowing to me and for other people who enjoyed the show that it's, I have to be honest, kind of hard for me to envision a world where Nintendo did make a better show. And of course, I gotta keep it real with you guys and totally admit the fanboy perspective I'm coming at this from, okay? You guys know me. You know that Metroid Prime 4 was the be-all, end-all thing that happened last year across the board for E3. And to tell you the truth, E3, I think, was so great last year for all companies, I don't even know if all of 2018's E3 could be better than all of 2017's E3. Because, of course, last year's E3, Nintendo gave us Metroid Prime 4 and Metroid Samus Returns, and then, of course, we also had Beyond Good and Evil 2 revealed. And obviously, the jury's still out on that one and how that's going to turn out, because they're definitely going far away from what a lot of us expected from a Beyond Good and Evil 2. But that doesn't mean that when I watched that trailer, and I saw it end and Beyond Good and Evil 2 come up at the very end, I wasn't almost in tears, jumping and screaming like, oh my god, I cannot believe the world we live in. And that was the day before Nintendo was like, oh, you want a new Metroid? Here's a Metroid Prime 4. Oh, you want another one? Here's a Metroid for the 3DS. And so it's for pretty much those reasons that I was like, oh my god, E3 2017 is so freaking cool, man, so good. And there was plenty of other great and exciting things, of course. But, those games, Beyond Good and Evil, and then, of course, the 2 Metroid games, really just shot it over the top for me. I mean, there were some low points, and again, even when looking specifically back at Nintendo and their presentation, sure, it was only 25 minutes with a couple of surprises, but I think that it made enough of an impact for me as just a Nintendo fan and a Metroid fanboy that I was just over the moon with what they did, and it made me excited for the future, and it was also the first glimpse we started to get. If you guys remember, going back to June 2017, 3 months after the Switch launched, there were still a lot of questions of the future at that time, and one of the things they did do was start to show us that, hey, there is some third-party support coming. I mean, they detailed some things that were very, very exciting. Like I said, Skyrim was a big focus at E3 last year, and Rocket League during Nintendo Showcase, and a couple of other things. It was like, okay, things are coming into focus. They also, gave us a blowout on Mario Odyssey. So you get all this Mario Odyssey stuff. You get some third-party content. You get a Metroid Prime 4 announcement, and you also get a Metroid 3DS announcement that was going to release only a few months after E3 concluded, plus a couple of other things. They showed us Yoshi and Kirby for the first time. It was like, man, they really did some solid stuff. So, as I already said, I was pretty much over the moon with Nintendo's presentation and with E3 as a whole last year. And so this year, I just don't know if what I expect them to show is going to do that. I mean, when I think about what Nintendo would have to do for me, and maybe even for some other people as well, to feel like their presentation was better than last year's, there's a couple of things that jump to mind. One would be really blowing the doors off of Metroid Prime 4. So that's a huge one, and that kind of plays off of what they did last year. Because last year they just teased us with the game. This year they could show us a bunch of gameplay, show us what the game looks like, let us know when we can expect it, what kind of cool new features and things are going to be in the game. If they do something like that, that probably will, in and of itself, surpass last year, provided the game looks as amazing as I know it's going to be. So that's that, but I don't really know that I think we can expect that yet. Maybe, maybe not. I'll probably talk about that at a later video. Obviously, the big focus is going to be Smash Brothers this year, and I mean, that's going to be absolutely amazing. I cannot wait to get all that info. I have full faith it's going to be one of the best Nintendo games and Smash Brothers games ever. But for me, even as a big Smash Brothers fan, blowing the doors open on just another Super Smash Brothers game isn't to the level of what Nintendo did last year with their show and with the two Metroid games. Just for me personally, guys. Again, you might like Smash way more than Metroid, and that's fine. But I like Metroid way more than Smash. So even though I can't wait for all the Smash info and the Invitational and all that, I mean, the Metroid stuff right now is still going to be trumping that. But it is going to be exciting to get Smash Brothers info. Let's say they show us some Metroid Prime 4 stuff. Let's say they they start to detail Fire Emblem. I've brought that up many times. Are they going to give us info on this Fire Emblem game and reconfirm it for 2018? That would be a huge win and a feather in their cap for this year. Do they announce something amazing like a Pikmin 4, like a new F-Zero game? Does this rumored Star Fox racing game turn out to be real? And does it also turn out to be awesome? And do they throw that on top of the fold? Do they show us Grand Theft Auto 6 and maybe Red Dead Redemption 1 or 2 or both? Do they start to bring us Borderlands and and Call of Duty and some of these great huge third-party games that we want to see? And do they show the Animal Crossing game that I think that they're working on? I mean, if they do all that stuff, yeah, you've got, 12 humongous bullet point amazing things as a part of their presentation. And that, yeah, even with the Metroid Prime and Samus Returns stuff from last year, I would probably say, okay, that's a better show than last year for sure. But as a theory from a couple of weeks ago goes that I laid out to you guys in a video I made a few weeks ago, I don't really expect that many huge surprises outside of the focus on Smash Brothers. And I'm not saying that's a bad thing, but what I expect is a Smash Brothers focus, probably some info on Fire Emblem, which will be huge, maybe one other mid-tier announcement, they're going to show Yoshi and stuff like that, and that's probably it. And honestly, that's going to be just another solid showing from Nintendo, but if they do something in that range of my prediction there, then that means that for me, there's no way it's going to be better than what I got last year. But again, in wrapping this up, even if they have that kind of mid-tier package planned for the year, if in fact there is anything to Metroid Prime 4 and they can actually show us some significant stuff about that game at E3, that does change the game, and that could possibly make it better. So the whole point of this video and this conversation that I wanted to have with you guys is just really from my own personal perspective. I'm really just talking about Rob's opinion and feeling on Nintendo at E3, and I was so overwhelmed with how great two Metroid games were from last year's show, among everything else that they showed. And the fact that I don't expect a whole lot of surprises outside of Smash Brothers this year means I'm just trying to go in with my own personal tempered expectations of I'm expecting a fine show. I think I'm going to love everything that they're going to show, and Smash is going to blow us all away, and that's going to be fantastic. But unless they blow the doors open on Metroid, I don't expect to walk away from E3 this year thinking, oh my god, Nintendo had one of the best shows ever, and they totally blew 2017 away. I'm not expecting that. And the reason I feel good about that is that means that if that's true, I don't have to walk away disappointed. I would like to walk away from that kind of show that I laid out for you guys and feel like, hey, that was great. I'm totally happy with that. I'm satisfied. Smash looks amazing. Fire Emblem's going to be great. And so I'm excited for those things. And that'll make me very happy. And I won't be like, oh my God, it was such a letdown. It was so lame. Not nearly as good as 2017. What a bummer, Nintendo. You screwed it all up. I'm not going to have to feel that way because I'm not necessarily expecting them to have a better show than last year's. But the last thing here is, if in fact they do end up having a better show than last year, then my mind will be twice as blown as it would have been in the first place, because I'm definitely not expecting it. And I'll be like, oh my God, they did show F-Zero. They did show Star Fox. They did show Metroid. They showed us Pokemon 2019. They showed us yada 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 XYZ, and it'll be like the greatest thing ever. So anyway, just a fun little expansion on the E3 talk and the Nintendo predictions kind of stuff. A lot of fun to talk about this as we get closer to the show. On Sunday this weekend, I will be holding my big E3 Q&A. A lot of questions came in on Twitter and Facebook. So much stuff to talk about. It's going to be absolutely epic and insane, so look forward to that. And next week, the week before E3 begins, I am also going to be making one or two huge predictions video. Probably one where I talk about just Nintendo and legit predictions, not like what I did today and kind of just theorized random stuff. I'm going to try to lay out some hard predictions for Nintendo at E3, and then some predictions for pretty much everyone else. So I'll probably do it in 2 videos there. And that's going to be a lot of fun. So hopefully you guys can look forward to that. Please talk about this below. How do you feel going into Nintendo's show this year based on what you thought last year's was? Maybe you agree with me and you liked last year's show, and so that is coloring your opinion going into this year. Or maybe you're the opposite and you thought last year was kind of lame, which a lot of people did, to be fair. And so how does that color your expectations going into this year? Do you expect great things, mediocre things, terrible things, whatever you feel? Talk about your opinions below. Always fun to discuss E3 stuff. That is it for me today. Thanks as always for tuning in, guys. This is Rob of Ro2R Review, and I'll catch you next time on another E3 video.